Hello and welcome to another lesson on learning Wagtail. In the last video, we learned how to add these little guys in there. We got a link to GitHub and a link to LinkedIn, and you could expand that to have any sort of link or icon in there. And that will show up on every single page. That's great. In this lesson, we're going to learn how to change this title and the logo as well to make them, whatever you want them to be. So you can swap out the logo if you wanted to. So moving on from that last lesson, it's very similar to what we just did, so this should hopefully be a pretty quick lesson. We're going to create another model, register it as a setting, and then just access it through the template. Now, if you're just skipping to this video right now and you're totally lost, definitely watch the previous video first, and it'll help you understand some of the things that we got to do to set up global site settings in a Wagtail website. So first things first, class. We're going to call this brand settings, I guess. This is going to be a base generic setting. And in here, we are going to have, that's pretty good. Let's do that. We're going to have a logo. It's going to be a foreign key to wagtailimages.image. Yes, it can be optional. Well, it can be blank anyway, or null. Blank is true. Can it be optional? Do we want it to be optional? I guess, yeah, we could have it be optional. Although that might run into some issues down the road if it's not set, but that's okay. That would be a future problem. When this image is deleted, what happens? This field gets set to null, and we're not going to use any sort of related name. And the panel is going to be logo. Cool. Then we copy this register setting over here, and away we go. For the actual site name, I think we're going to do it a slightly different way, just to expand on this. So this lesson isn't the exact same as the last one. So let's go ahead and open up our terminal. We're going to go ahead, make migrations. Go ahead, migrate. Cool. And let's do, what do we want to do? We want to do our header or a footer first? Let's do the footer. Go into our admin, and we go into our settings, and then we got this one called brand settings, and we can choose an image. I'm going to upload a new image of my hilarious animated face. That's going to be my new logo. All right. Now, nothing's going to happen because we did nothing on the front end. We just saved some data in the database. Let's go ahead and open up our footer.html, and we're going to have some sort of image in here. So if we look for it, image/logo.svg. Now that's not quite gonna work because we don't want to use that anymore. We want this to be customizable. So first things we got to do is Wagtail images tags. That needs to be loaded. And that's gonna allow us to then swap this out for image settings dot site settings dot brand settings dot logo. Is that what I called it? I think so. We might want to maybe limit the size of this. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to open this up, and we're going to start dissecting some of this. We're going to start getting into some of the document object model. So what I did was in any browser, right click and go to inspect or inspect tools or whatever the functionality is called in your browser of choice. And I check this out, and in here you can see 48 by 40. So I want this logo to be set to a max of 48 by 40. And I'm just gonna save that as is and see what happens. Haha! There I am. Actually, I had selected the wrong one there. I was working on the footer, but should have been looking at the footer. That happens. As Bob Ross would say, we're just gonna turn that into a bird. We're gonna then make sure that this same thing works up here. So that's kind of cool. What I'm going to do is I'm literally just going to copy this, and I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to open up the navigation file that we made a little while ago. Paste that in there, and we're going to paste that in there. And now let's see what happens. I think that's hilarious. That looks so funny, and it's so good. Okay, but my name's not John Doe, so we still have that problem to deal with. Also, because dark mode, this image actually has a white background. So if you're using an image with a white background, you might actually want to use an image with a transparent background. I don't have that, so I just got to live with that as a bit of a bug right now, but this is where we're at. So that's dependent on your image and not a Wagtail thing is essentially what I'm trying to say. So next I need to change John Doe out. And what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to take a look at what Wagtail already gives us. I'm going to go to base.html, and I know for a fact we have something in here. There it is. If current site name, Wagtail site as current site. So we have a template tag in here that we can use. That's pretty cool. And then we can use current site.site name if there is one. So what I'm going to do is go back to navigation, make sure my Wagtail core tags are being used. I'm sure it's Wagtail core tags and probably not the Wagtail user bar. That Wagtail user bar comes from this little Wagtail right there. And I'm going to go into navigation and I'm just going to copy that guy in there. So it's going to be Wagtail site as current site. And then instead of John Doe, I can change this to current site.site name. And that is going to not work the way you expect it to work. It disappeared. So let's go back into our settings and we go into sites. And so instead of changing this, not changing, but instead of using this as a site setting, I'm going to use the actual site name. I'm going to call it Caleb Tallien. So I changed the actual site name. I could probably change the port as well, because on localhost, I'm using port 8000, not 80. Refresh, and there it is. So now I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing down here. So we can copy that, and copy that. Let's go over to the footer and do a little pasty paste on a new line. We're going to do the current site thing. So function, whatever that returns as some sort of variable that we can use. And we're going to throw this in here, current site.site name. And let's change that copyright as well, because that is just not right. We're going to say and copy, and the year is going to be, we're going to say Django now, and we're going to put a Y in there, and I think that's the way I got it. It's been a little while since I've done that one. Haha! 2024, Caleb Tallien. Oh, look at that. We have site settings. So we have site settings for down here. We have a site setting for our logo, our global logo, and we're using the site name that already comes with Wagtail. So if you don't want to use, that site name, you can always go into like your brand settings and add another field in there. And that field could simply just be the name of your website. And you could use that site setting instead. You're going to achieve the exact same thing by doing basically the exact same thing that Wagtail already comes with. The difference this time is that you have a couple extra lines of code to maintain. So I like doing it this way, but there are reasons for doing it, custom settings way. Now again, if you are looking for custom settings when it comes to a multi-site instance of Wagtail, the Ultimate Wagtail Developers Course is probably going to be one of your best friends because it includes that as well. But again, if you don't know what a multi-site instance is, if you are not interested in using one code base to manage 2 or more domains or subdomains, then you can just totally ignore this. But otherwise, we now have our settings up and running. And in the next lesson, we're going to actually start working with our actual pages. This is global, so it doesn't matter what page we go to. Right, that URL up here is changing. It absolutely is changing. However, the content is not. So we're going to start working with the content.